Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Back2Warcraft podcast. Today it's a special episode because usually we talk about everything that happens in the esports and Melee community. Today, whole different topic, and you guys always yell at me, when you do this alone, it's so boring. So, okay, guys, I got 3 guests for you, okay? Because about this topic that we discussed today, I have no clue at all, and I will just learn, and we will all just learn, and we will explore the user-generated content scene a little more. I have 3 amazing guests who do incredible content. You all might have heard about the Hive workshop. This is basically where they live. I got Eugene and Shadi by me. If I'm not mistaken, you both are creators for Chronicles of the Second War, right? So Eugene, I heard it's a very special occasion. You basically show yourself for the first time. So feel free to introduce yourself and your project you're doing.
Hello, friends. Yeah, this is the first time I come in public discussion of such type in a podcast. So I don't know. What do you want to know about me? I'm just a guy who played Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 in his childhood, and when Warcraft 3 came up in like in 2002, oh my god, 20 years ago, I just fired up the idea that came in my god. I want to relive Warcraft 2 scenario in beautiful engine. And after a few years, I started to do some learning of Warcraft 3 World Editor, and I played a huge amount of custom campaigns. I dig the triggers that were used by original creators, and I was inspired by a lot of things and a lot of other RTS games, and I was trying to slowly assembling it mission by mission. Often I just abandoned it, left it on the shelf, then back to it, and I did it for a lot of time. I think for a few years, and at some point, or for 10 years maybe, or 5 years. I just remember that in 2012 I had. Some of them were extremely bugged, some of them were unfinished, and it was just a dream that I at some point want to finish. But since the time I abandoned it, and it was just collecting dust in my hard drive until in 2018 I saw the Forged announcement, and I thought, and get rid away from like shit ton of custom SD models that I imported for my super cool campaign, and replace them with the existing HD. And when beta of Reforged came out, I started to test it. And at the same time, I found the Retro Model Studio tool. It's the open source program that allows you to edit animations and geosets in Reforged models. And I came up with conclusion that, hey, I can reforge my old campaign, but it will be huge, enormous task. And I started to work on buildings and post them on Hive. And at some point, some guy texted me. He saw a model of the blacksmith, Orcish blacksmith, and he was so amazed, and he asked me, what is that? And what am I working on? Because it reminds him of Warcraft 2. And this man was Shadi. He told that he is 3D designer. He wanted to join the team and work with me on this project. And I think in a couple of months we did huge amount of progress, and new guys joined the team, and we released, I think, this trailer 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it just like spent with huge new, I don't know, speed and brightness. So this the guys that joined the team, they contributed so many in so many ways that this project just becomes something extremely extraordinary.
Yeah, looking at the footage, this is
Sure.
definitely extraordinary. So basically, to sum this up, you recreated Warcraft 2 with updated models and updated assets, but like the story and the gameplay is still the same.
Well, it's a tricky because what I wanted to do from the beginning, I had the idea that I want to take the best things from Warcraft 2 and best things from Warcraft 3. Because in Warcraft 2, you didn't have playable heroes, and it was huge, huge task to solve. Because how can you take the lore, the existing lore, which is kind of, I would say, not poor, but it doesn't have such amount of details in the original Warcraft 2. Uh, and you need to kind of expand it, but not break the overall lore of the universe. And this is very, very difficult task at some point, but it's very interesting. So we are just trying to take the most meaningful and interesting things from Warcraft universe and show it within our campaign, within our dialogues and characters, and show the more space and depth. Like if you just take World of Warcraft, sometimes it looks narrow in some points, especially when they treat the lore of the Second War. They just cut it in half in terms of time duration. They removed a lot of interesting things. Like if you play RTS games, there were like battle near the Tyr's hand. But in the books, even in the books about Second War, there was nothing about that, and a lot of details were just omitted. And we are trying to recreate them and restore them without breaking the main lore of the universe.
That sounds really impressive and like a lot of work, but I'm sure with a cool team you can make it work eventually. Shadi, you're part of the team as well. Is there anything you wanna mention that you wanna bring to the spotlight that Eugene maybe missed?
I think Eugene talked about the major points of the project. Like you said, the way I was introduced to him, I saw his models in Hive Workshop when he was working on Warcraft 2 buildings. So I immediately got hooked to that because I myself also a Warcraft 2 enthusiast. So having similar nostalgic love for that game, I said, hey, why not? Let's make a team. You are the programmer, you have some tools. I'm the 3D designer, and I also I'm a lord nerd just like him. So as we move forward, we realized that the project is getting bigger, but we're only two guys. So we needed help from other people. So we invited shout out to our friend. He goes by the name of Moonman, now Barak. He joined us by basically modeling the human models, the kingdoms. Each kingdom got their own identity. Then our French friend goes by the forum name Bagista joined in. He, on the other side, started making the orc clans, giving them their special aesthetic identities. And as we grew and grew, we realized that we need voice actors now because originally it was me and Eugene.
Yeah, yeah, and it
We
was
did.
sometimes my voice was awful.
So he put some placeholder. We wanted to release a demo for the. Yeah, that's an April Fools, by the way. So
Oh,
the
okay.
fans don't get. So literally April trolling from pun intended, trolling the fans with a troll
Trolling the
campaign.
trolls.
Yeah.
Strong.
So in late 2020, just before we released the trailer, we already got a presentable demo with placeholder voice acting. I myself voice act. I have a decent mic, as you know, and I voice some of the core units. Eugene voiced some of the temporary. Then when we made the trailer and we put it on YouTube and we put the demos on Hive, a day later, like our Discord exploded hundreds of messages, hundreds of new people. Like, just in under 2 days, our trailer jumped over 30,000 views. That was like the whole shock for the team. What is going on? We did not expect such fast coverage. Wowhead covered us. A lot of gaming magazines, Polygon. Some of the guys, um, if you Google our project, you will have plenty of reaction videos. Whether to the trailers or gameplay. So fast forward to where we are today, we released a lot of assets to the community and for free over and over again, and we collaborated with our friend Luca, InsaneMonster, since he's remaking Warcraft 3 the way it should have done.
Yeah.
So since he shares our same passion of giving this game, the respect it deserves, because as you know, Warcraft 3 or the RTS Warcraft in general has been harshly alienated by Blizzard. Everyone focuses on World of Warcraft, and to an extent that's okay, but people, especially the newer generation, the new generation of players, they have to know why Warcraft was an amazing game for our generation, ours and your generation. So our goal here with Luca with us, we want to present the players to the epic, nostalgic feeling of what Warcraft the RTS was. So, and hopefully we do it with the latest technology available. Just like Eugene said, we take the best elements from the lore without necessarily breaking the main narrative. But as we move forward, we realize that yeah, we're much more faithful to the RTS narrative. So the players who will play it, they will recognize some World of Warcraft aspects here and there, but the overall general narrative is mostly contained within the RTS setting. So, to put it in retrospect, hopefully, when we finish this project and we go back to Warcraft 1, it will be a whole pack, Warcraft 1, 2, 3, which is this is
Yeah.
the goal, this is the end goal for us, is that we have a whole pack for players to enjoy the RTS and the original story, back when the story was good, honestly speaking. So hopefully we finish that goal.
You guys
Yeah,
are pretty
because
ambitious. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
because Reforged actually has all necessary tools to deliver all that old stories for the new generation of players in a tasty, colorful, and bright way. Like, uh, so why not?
Why not, indeed. Now we talked 13 minutes already about your project, but we have another guest right here. The man, the myth, the legend that is InsaneMonster, who creates Warcraft Re-Reforged. You might know him from some Bellular News videos or something. He's super famous. Look how you doing, man. What's up?
Quite well, I will say. Today is a good day to be a Warcraft 3 modder. Okay, let's say it this way. I mean, we have just received big news. I'm afraid. I'm sorry, both Eugene and Shadi. Instead of listening to you carefully, I was watching everything on the Hive Discord about the new patch. I was a lot interested in that.
We're
I
gonna
already
talk
knew
about
what
that
you were
later.
going to say. I mean, I
We're
really
gonna talk about that later.
I was really focused on that. Okay. Yeah, I think I have not to introduce my project. I mean, you already played it, even if only on German. I hope you'll soon play it even in English, and I should finish the human campaign soon enough. I hope, unless life really forces me to delay stuff, but I hope it will not. By the way, only a little bit of other advertisement here tomorrow. On 21 Rome time, I will stream about me developing Warcraft 3 a terrain section of one of the maps. I don't know when this will go live, but at least for you guys, I will tell you. Yeah. Then, I mean, I think Reforged is a very, very missed opportunity. I guess I already told that to you, Neo, in private before today. I think the game has been bashed much more than it was really deserved. I mean, it's yes, it's an unfinished game, but what is finished is not that bad. It's quite well optimized for to be what it is. I mean, it's a 20-year-old engine turned to be a PBR, and PBR means physically based render. So the next gen kind of stuff, or current gen. I mean, in 2020 it's current gen, and it behaves quite well. And as I already told on many occasions, I think that melee maps are often regarded as very hard to play with reforged models, not because the models are bad per se. If we exclude some model like the Paladin, okay, this is it is bad. But unless if we
I also hate him.
fucking Paladin, okay, everything else is pretty much on point. Add a bit of team color here and there, and you should be fine. And I think if you actually design a melee map for Reforged in mind, with the terrain in mind, you could get a lot more easy to recognize units. Still, I mean, in for Re-Reforged, a lot of people told me, it's very easy to recognize the units in your maps, but I didn't change the units. I didn't change the assets. I just placed them in the right way because I see what the model is like, what the texture is like, and then I decide to use it appropriately. If you don't do this, of course, it's not possible to port one on one the maps from the original Warcraft 3 Classic to Reforged, because Reforged is not like StarCraft Remastered or Diablo 2 Remastered. It's not a remastered game, it's a remake. It's a remake that is not finished. So it turned out to be a remaster, but it actually should have been a remake.
Can
Because
you
it-
explain the difference between a remaster and a remake?
Yes, a remaster it's an improvement over the original game that just ups the graphics quality. But on a first glance, you can even notice the difference. If I play StarCraft Remastered, I didn't even notice it's remastered unless I zoom in. If I play Diablo 2 Resurrected, I think, okay, this is the same game I played when I was a child. Because my imagination when I was a child build that stuff the same exact way I see it now. But of course, if I compare the two, I can see the difference. It's not the same for Warcraft 3 Reforged. And I think this is a problem with the fact that Warcraft 3 Reforged is a 3D game, and Warcraft 3 was one of the first 3D games. So the graphics, while trying to be realistic, because I have always had the impression the original Warcraft 3 art direction was more realistic than cartoony, it turned out to be cartoony for a lot of limitation at the time. I mean, if your face is a triangle, I guess you cannot look so realistic. I mean, it's impossible. But the idea, the original idea, the texture colors and so forth, I always felt them to be quite realistic. I remember myself when I was a child in 2004, a grown-up child, but still a teenager, a young teenager. In 2004, I was telling one of my friends, Warcraft 3 is one of the best looking game I've ever played. I mean, for me, it was just beaten by Rome Total War, okay, which looked far more realistic. But to me, Warcraft 3 was realistic at the time. And to think it's cartoony in the art style, I think it's wrong. And I think it became cartoony with the passage of time when actually realistic graphics was done. But at the time, it was not aiming to be cartoony. And this is a bit of a difference to World of Warcraft, where they kept the original cartoony style even in following iterations. Warcraft 3 Reforged, in many, many models, I will say the majority of the models, but not all, of course, by being an unfinished product, even the models vary a lot in quality one to the other. The Reforged models do have a lot of in common with the original artworks made for the game back then. They closely resemble a lot of the original artworks, and I think if a bit of shader adjustment, lighting adjustment, and even only terrain adjustments, that means the tiles on the ground and the doodads, it could really help a lot into making even the HD graphics worth and viable for melee. Okay, now it's saying something. I know the melee community will hear this and kill me right now. I mean, I will be angry in the in the public place. But I think a lot of the issues to recognize stuff, it's not really there if the graphics is taken care of in the appropriate way, and with just small adjustments and a redesign of the maps taking care of the reforged graphics, I think it can look really good. And maybe yes, for the handful of pro players it could be worse, but I mean, in the melee scene, how many are pro players? How many need to react in 0.5 seconds? How many really need such fast paced reaction time to be actually competitive? I guess not many.
Well,
Since,
it's not only about the players, it's also about the viewers, right?
yeah, but for the viewers, I think it's more of a design thing on in the terrain instead of a actually graphic problem. The problem is that the original texture that were placed in a certain way to look in a certain way are not possible to be ported directly to Reforge. If you take the terrain the terrain made in Classic and you look it in Reforge, usually, not always, but often, looks really bad. It looks blocky. It looks too strong in colors. This is why it should have been redesigned, not only for the campaign maps, where they promised actual redesign that we never get. Hence the project, hence my project. I mean, but also for the melee maps. I told ya some times ago. I think if I could try to design a melee map in the same way the Re-Reforged maps are designed terrain-wise, I think it will look much better, even without any change to the units. This is some kind of challenge I would really like to do one day to prove that it's not so bad as you might think. This is, I mean, it's still my opinion, okay? But I've watched a lot of these graphics, and I think I'm really expert on terraining stuff in Reforged graphics, keeping the
Yeah.
RTS style in mind. By keeping RTS style in mind, of course, because if we are trying to terrain an RPG style maps, it changes a lot.
Okay, so first you finish the Re-Reforged campaign, then you do a melee map, and then we'll see if you're right. So we meet again like 2075 or something, where we're old grandpas.
Sooner than that. I mean,
Okay. I don't want to put any pressure on you, so you just take your time.
I can give you example of what InsaneMonster is talking about. For example, take the Ashen Vial type of terrain in Warcraft 3. In SD, it has completely different color palette than in HD. In HD, it has a lot of purple colors from World of Warcraft to resemble those forests. And even some tiles are different, and scaling of some trees are different, or bushes. So I've loved Ashen Vial terrain set in SD era very much because its textures had very smooth transgression one to another. You could use moss and grass and vines, and they're blending with each other very smoothly, and they produced very cozy landscapes. But if you just switch from SD to HD, you will notice that, oh shit, a lot of things get ugly. They just don't blend with each other. They look completely differently. And this is the example of issue that Luca is talking about. You cannot just switch from, like look at the transgression from dirt to moss. It's very, like a gradient. It's very smooth and natural. And in HD it looks way different, and it's even different type of colors, and it feels different.
Stronger
So
contrast.
yeah, this is the thing that he talked about. It's not a remaster; it's a remake, and they should probably even redesign the maps accordingly to World of Warcraft landscapes or accordingly to new reality of colors. And there are a lot of things that you actually can work with Reforged, and you can produce a lot of cool, really cool landscapes. You just need to do it a bit differently than it was in SD.
I mean, you play. Sorry, you played my campaign, okay?
Mhm.
Did you have the feeling that the units were hard to recognize even when they were large? Did you have the feeling it was really hard to recognize stuff? Of course, a block
uh,
views
I will
during
explain that. Yeah, I will explain that point. So I think the complaints from melee mappers or melee gamers are mostly related to the pace of their game. They need to jump with their attention from one to unit to another. They don't have time to, enjoy the graphics or something like that. And their complaints were related, I think, either to scales or to silhouettes or to team colors. Maybe some units, if they adjust team colors or make them bright, they will be more recognizable. But in the campaign, you don't have that issue because the pace is a bit slower, and you can see cinematics, you can see units, and you don't have this, constant rush unless it's a special mission with rush timer. And I didn't have any issues with recognizing units. And maybe because you just scaled up some of them, and my poor vision allowed me to see all the details. So no, I don't have any problems like in your campaign. And melee mappers, they just got used to very quick reactions, and their minds for 20 years adjusted to a particular recognizable shape of a unit. And they, when they see Reforged, they don't recognize it in a millisecond that they got used to, and then that's why they feel uncomfortable.
In the campaign, it's also like you have a lot less units, right? Especially when you
Yeah.
start, and we are very early in the campaign, so we have very few different units as well. In a melee game, in a pro game, we have a lot more supply in general, and it's like fights are way crazier because the way the units are lined up, the computer is not lining up a unit like a player would do that, right? So it all meshes together. I can't really differentiate, for example, a militia from a footman. And that's also an issue in your campaign, I think, if things get messy.
But
I
how
don't
many
know.
are really different from how many units you are really trouble to recognize? Because of course there are units that are not so well designed. I mean, it's not that it's all perfect stuff and it's an unfinished game. But if you have to say a percentage of units, I have really an hard time to recognize in a clumped situation how many are them, because we need to try to even understand how bad something is. Not just okay, this is bad. This is there is something bad. How much is bad?
I think I can add a point here is that of especially the criticism regarding the silhouettes and the readability of the units. If we go back to the core of the issue, like Lucas said, this is a remake that has been stopped halfway during development. So a lot of stuff has been rushed. Some, even I, when I was editing textures, or my guys were editing the models, we found out some of the models are like some texture mesh up here, some model breaking here. It did show that whoever was managing Lemon Sky, poor developers, because I really feel bad for them for all the criticism they suffered from. They came to a point that were rushed insanely, like pun
Yeah.
intended, like they were rushed. We have to finish, we have to release by December or January 2020. So they started, hitting brick walls left and right. So this is one of the reasons why some of the models, or many of the models, like they have some issues, but that can be fixed. You know, that can be fixed. It is so easy to say just delete Reforged and we go back to the old Warcraft 3 design, but to
Yeah,
undermine all of that amazing job has been done, and how could have been, So we go back to problem two, which Luca mentioned, about the shader. You know, why
Okay,
do you have a problem reading that? Why do you have a problem reading the models or the terrain engine, right? In part, it's also part of the shader problem, which you once asked me about what is a shader,
yeah, I think we
correct?
have to explain a lot to the community because we care about races and balance and if Happy wins another weekly cup, but we've never heard of a shader.
It's what you
Okay,
see.
so
What you see.
to
It's
put it
what runs in your GPU.
So to put it in a simpler manner, so we don't get too technical to the fan base or to the viewers. So basically, a shader is a calculator program that translate what you see inside the computer. Example, you have a shape. Let's see. Let me just give you a live example here. Okay, this is an object. Okay, it has color, it has reflection, as you can see, it has depth, and all of that. So what does the shader do? Is that it shows you, okay, this object has reflection. It's made of plastic. This object is shiny. This object has depth. This object has, let's say, some details like protruding out. Instead of a flat, object, you would immediately watch like washed out colors or something. The shader does give it the 3D vibe, just like what you're seeing right now with us. We are an example of what a shader is. You have a light source, the light bumps into you, then it reflects and refracts and translates colors. This is what the problem with the models with Reforge. Currently, Reforge uses a simple shader, which is what we call a directional light. It basically mimics the sun. So it's one light source up in the sky. It goes like in one direction, and it casts shadows behind the model. In a healthy BPR render, you should have three types of light: directional light, rim light, which is the light that goes at your edges, if you
hmm
remember, and you have an ambient light, which is anything, basically any third light source. It gives you that beautiful rim, light from the back of your head, or back of your the back, literally the back, the main source, and some light on one of the sides, and it gives you a full nice view of what you are, in details. The problem with Reforge is that if you remember in the demo of the culling, they used a nice, a better shader, and you could see the units, the reflections, the silhouettes, the way they move. But the shipped version, it has some changes, which is, like I said, the directional light. When you shine a light source on the model, it shines one part of it, and the backside is it's dark. So
We
it's
call
like
it dark side of the moon.
yeah. So it breaks the details in an ugly way. You would say, "What the hell? What is that? That's an ugly model."
I
But
received
in
some feedback about this. For
yeah,
example, in my cinematics, in some of my cinematics, people pointed out why Uther the Lightbringer is now black. Why these elves are black? Well, they are not black. They are just unlit. But I would like to add one little thing to this, and it's that you can actually add both ambient light and rim light to Warcraft 3 Reforged maps, and I am doing it right now. I've been doing it in the latest Reforged update. You have to edit a file called day night cycle.mdl and import it back into the editor. The only problem is that it's very, very hard to edit because you have to edit it with a text editor and it's something you should be seeing. So it's very hard to actually make change make changes, import in the game, then reload and so forth. And sometimes the ring lights don't work very well, but you can definitely add ambient light. And I've noticed that by adding ambient light, units are much more easy to recognize in their shapes. Beside that, there is also another thing. Usually the ambient light is not just ambient light, but it's composed in a PBR setting by ambient light plus reflections. Reflections are generated two ways in modern games. First way is dynamic reflections, which are very seldom used because it's very computationally expensive. And then there is the got them all now solution, which is baked reflections. For example, if you use the Unity game engine, you will have something called reflection probes to generate such baked reflections. Well, all models in Warcraft 3 Reforged have baked reflections. They all have the same environmental map reflection. What does that mean? That means that in certain maps the reflection look good because the color of the reflections is the same of the overall color tone of the tileset. In other maps, usually the darker one,
Looks bad. Yeah.
it doesn't work this way because of course they are going to reflect a blue sky when the sky is maybe red, and it's not working. You can playing around that using ambient light, using rim light, of course both custom, text edited, okay, and by changing the directional light, still text edited. But it's a very complex way. I would like to have this system improved, fixed, completed, and made easy to access inside the editor, like it is in StarCraft 2 Galaxy Editor. In StarCraft 2, you can decide the rim light color, the rim light orientation, the shadows color, the directional light orientation and color intensity, and so forth. A system like that would allow all map makers, even melee map makers, because it doesn't make any difference for a melee map, to actually make the unit easy to recognize in said environment. So
Would
this
be a lifesaver.
with a specific design of the tiles in the terrain and the doodads could make stuff much more easy to recognize and to play with. Also, much more visually appealing. I mean, it could be really beautiful to see. This
So,
is, of course, it's an official product. The stuff is there, but it's very hard to access and to utilize.
so how realistic is it? Like, how much work would it be to implement something? Is it
They
something that
will
a
never
small team can do?
they will never do this, in my opinion. It's very complex from an engineering standpoint because you need engineers to expose stuff which is very hard coded inside the editor. And from the inside informations we had from the original development team of Warcraft 3 Reforged, the Warcraft 3 is not coded that well. I mean, it's old software. I mean, I am a software engineer, okay? Usually software is bad. If you see blue screen on Windows, it's because it's bad. It's not because it's just magic that sometimes does not work. It's bad, okay? Some people made a lot of mistakes, but usually mistakes are made because you're trying to maintain legacy codes that is not well documented, so you cannot know what this code does, and you cannot change it because you have the butterfly effect. You change one thing here, and you don't know what happens everywhere else.
You start an
And
avalanche.
so what happens is that you want to work around legacy code, but you it's very hard to work around legacy code. And then everything this engineering team does is very hard, very long, very tedious, and of course they are not going to invest millions of dollars on Warcraft 3 Reforged. This is just wishful thinking. I mean, if anyone thinks something like that, I think it's really
Maybe when
awful,
Microsoft
how
does it.
they say it.
Maybe like a big if like a really big if Microsoft decided to invest when they acquire Blizzard, but that, like Lucas said, is just wishful thinking. I'd like to add an important note that I think the majority of melee players are thinking that we don't want to play Reforged because we don't know read the models, we can't recognize this and that, and we explained earlier why is it a problem for them to read. But in a previous podcast with Richard, Witty Warcraft, I mentioned that there's a nice possible solution for the melee players to enjoy Reforged, but with classic flavor. You know, like just like StarCraft 2, you can have skin packs. You know, you can have skin packs that are sorry that are designed in a way to simplify the units that resemble, you know, the original Warcraft 3 classic. You know, simplified armor, simplified colors, you know, less realistic grittiness. That way, players of the melee community will immediately realize, yeah, that's Warcraft 3 Grunt, that's Warcraft 3 Footman, but
Yeah.
done in a modern way. It's like it's a balance, you know, between
No.
modern polygons and a classic retouch. It takes a skin pack for them, you know, to be satisfied. So I think even if Blizzard didn't decide to do it, I think the Hive community, which is, let's be honest, the backbone of the Warcraft scene, is the modders, you know, the modding community. It is, you know, the ones who keep creating custom games, custom models, custom, you know, shaders. They can do that for the melee players, you know. Even us, we did, I don't know if you saw that, we made a whole dwarven tech tree, you know, all three clans, Dark Irons, Wildhammers, all of that, you know, just even though they were going to be featured in our campaign, but also we put in mind that we want players to try them in melee campaigns. So we are giving not just to the melee, not just to the modding community, but also to the melee community. So I hope one day they try that and appreciate the hard work that has been done to this.
So why are we not doing it if we can replace models like this? I mean, of course, it's a lot of work, but is there any other obstacles, like the units have to behave the exact same way that they behave right now in SD?
Maybe Eugene could take this answer.
I didn't quite understand your question.
Like, why are we not doing it right now if we can? What are the obstacles for it? Because, for example, especially in esports games, if the animation of the model is a little bit off, I guess the hit would be different or something. Is it difficult to implement the skin pack, or is it rather easy?
Okay, I got you. So is it difficult to remake a lot of custom models in order to provide better experience for example, melee stage, or just re-reforged or unforged some of those models to be, you know, more smooth, round, cartoonish, but high poly version of SD? Well, it's a bit hard because Blizzard never released the art tools for custom modeling. And what are we doing now? We use Walkaround made by a guy named Retara. His Retara Model Studio, which is compiled from, you know, few separate other open source programs that were working with classic MDX format of the 3D models and particles and textures. And it's not perfect. It has huge amount of features, but also huge amount of bugs. And uh, if Blizzard released their art tools that would allow community to easy port, for example, a model from 3D Maya or ZBrush or 3D Max to MDX format without any dances, you know, with drums and dark magic of editing text files, editing numbers in text files on blind, not knowing what the result will be, and then testing it million times in the map, then it would be easier. So we in our team we have jokes about editing MDL files. So the 3D model of Warcraft 2 can be in format MDX or MDL. MDL is a text format, and sometimes it's easier to edit some numbers if you know the result. Then, you know, find way to edit it in some other programs, because you will have conversion hell. Like, in order to convert animations from 3D Max to MDX, it is hard, and there are a lot of steps. So absence of simple tool, of course, has its consequences. Not a lot of people can do extreme modifications to units, but Return Model Studio still provides a lot, and people are doing a lot of cool HD models.
All right, so if we implement new skins, would we need new animations as well?
No, we can use the existing ones.
Okay.
Actually, if I were on the place of Blizzard, I would found a why couldn't they just create some kind of internal market for people to post skins and models, and they just charge some kind of tax from it,
Yeah,
like
I think they
everybody
actually
would
did that. They actually did that in China, I think, for the custom game community there.
officially.
We don't know that.
On NetEase, I'm pretty sure that's how they made their money.
Oh, they mean the other company,
Yeah,
not this one.
the Chinese publisher.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I remember
NetEase.
that. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, I think
So
map makers could upload skins for their maps, and then users could purchase that.
Well, we all remember how it ended up when they tried to push on Steam workshops paid mods. I mean, you cannot really predict the consumer reaction to this kind of stuff. Sometimes it could be beneficial to a game, sometimes it could be seen as a way to monetize a game because, of course, they will take a percentage of it, right? It's not possible otherwise. So I'm not really convinced. I mean, it would be better something like an integration that will allow you to download custom skins even for free and then donate to such people than an integrated marketplace that could anger people even more. And I mean,
I think it depends on prices. If the price policy is not harsh, people would
we are
accept it.
talking
But
about the same company that just released Diablo Immortal, right?
yeah,
Are we not? I'm confused.
I mean, to answer, like, put a case rest for this question, it is possible, like I said, to make use of the skin packs, whether it was monetized, even though I think it's gonna be a problem, given how Diablo Immortal was really received. But if, like Lucas said, that if you have the donate option, just like us, our projects, we give the players a choice, even though we release packs for free because we cannot monetize due to legal reasons.
yeah,
We
legal
cannot
Yeah,
reasons.
legal reasons, it's
absolutely
obvious.
break it, otherwise we will get shot.
Exactly. So
by
we
Blazers.
cannot monetize, even though we spill blood and bone over this in terms of like real work. It's not like just 2 clicks. We really put a lot of effort on this. But thankfully, we have the option for players to donate for us to keep us sustained, sustainability to keep going until we finally finish the release product. But as a sign of good faith, we release every now and then some asset packs here and there, just to show players that, yeah, we're still around, we're still working, and we're still delivering our promises. Now, for the let's say, the melee players have to understand that if they want to enjoy their games, say let's say they want to play the dwarves or play the Burning Legion tech tree, who do they go to?
Or
They go to us, the modders. They don't go to forums like Blizzard. Let's be honest.
yeah,
Like I
they
said
go to
again,
Hive Workshop.
yeah. Let's be honest. Like I said, it's the modding community that is the backbone of this game. The real backbone of this game. We can, like, let's have a perfect balance between the melee community and the modding community for custom campaigns, for esports, for 101. But it's all a full circle. Like I said, if someone wants to enjoy dwarves, he will go to Hive Workshop and ask the modders, hey, make us a dwarven tech tree. We want to play dwarves. Make us,
Just
I don't know,
I just came up
whatever.
with another thought that Blizzard, they have underestimated modern modding community, and they didn't take into consideration that some changes must be added into game or editor or menu. For example, I was thinking like, okay, we have a dwarven pack, well, like for 3 races. All of them have custom buildings, textures, and sounds. And it's quite a lot. It's approximately 250 megabytes of data. But there is a technical issue that a custom map, a melee map, cannot be launched successfully in online if its size more than 250, I think 5 megabytes. So we have a limits, technical limits, and in order to overcome that limit, you need to create some kind of alternative, I don't know, way. Maybe create some kind of public server where people can upload their assets, or create another technical way to deliver those textures and models into map.
Yeah.
So Blizzard just didn't thought about this, at all when they were planning Reforged, or when they were implementing Reforged. They didn't estimated a lot of possibilities that HD mode opens to modders.
Which is kind of mind-boggling because we all know what the editor is capable of, what did come out of the editor, and we also know how successful it was over in China, where they advertised, especially the editor, with I think there was a game where you could fly around with a plane or something with a military jet. They played this over and over and over during esports tournament, and they played Minecraft, Minesweeper in Warcraft. So the Chinese part 100% understood that and made millions from this. And then the Western part didn't follow up on that at all, even if we all know that Blizzard is a company that wants to make as much money as possible. It's really weird.
Because their management is focused on the other ways of making money. Like they have a very narrow and strict way. Okay, we are making mobile games and we are making money. We are making World of Warcraft and we are making money from it. They don't want to invest other things. Just don't want.
It's
You
because
know
it
what's
doesn't return enough money. I mean, if you make a mobile game, it returns in a month much more money than whatever they could
And
implement in all
fast, very
the
fast returns.
years. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them. It's not a bad business decision. It's a bad PR decision. It's a bad franchise decision. I mean, by that they are ruining their own reputation, but of course they are not ruining their wallets. Okay,
True.
they are making the right choice for their wallets. That's for sure.
They're just motivated for short term
dopamine surges?
benefits.
The
True.
dopamine
Short-term
surges.
benefits.
True,
If you
true, true.
guys remember the when Immortal was first announced, right?
Who don't
If you
remember? Don't you guys have
uh
phones?
yeah, that one, the guy who said, "Is this a late April Fool's joke?" It is ironic and sad at the same time because he really represented the mass community. Like, you are a PC game company, and let's say 99% of the attendees who attended BlizzCon are PC players. Then suddenly you throw this, mobile game at their face. Don't you guys have phones? Yeah, of course we have phones, but I didn't come here for a mobile game. I'm a PC gamer, and you've been, giving me PC games for a long time. Like Lucas said here, is that it's a bad PR move. I mean, one of the, I think, best franchises that have been used in a very successful way is Warhammer. The original creators, they gave freedom to multiple studios to make games for Warhammer. You have FPS Warhammer, first personal shooter. You have board games, you have RTS, you have RPG, and it's still alive and kicking. Why didn't they do that with why didn't Blizzard think like that? We can, if we want, like, if they want to diversify their franchises, maybe they should look at the Warhammer, method. Instead, we saw these weird, I know there's always gonna be a fan base for the mobile Warcraft game, but when I looked at it, there's nothing Warcraft about it. It's just
Dude,
some
I'm
similar
level
names.
I'm
This is not
level
the Warcraft we
11.
grew up.
It's a really good game. I'm having tons and tons of fun with Warcraft Arc Like Rumble. Don't shit talk the Warcraft mobile game.
I'm just speaking my mind. As a Warcraft 3 player, like I said, the best way, if they want to diversify this franchise, they can do it in a better way. They can do it. It has a lot of potential, but sadly, like my colleague said, it's a dopamine rush. They want the quickest return in a smallest time frame possible, and the result is what you saw in Reforged.
Yeah.
I,
That's
I,
not.
I think that maybe if we were in their shows, maybe we will do the same. I don't know. I mean, one likes to think that okay, the franchise is very important, but when you're reasoning of billions of dollars, what's more important, the name of franchise or the revenue? I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved in this. I mean, they are not doing the right thing from a lot of point of views, and of course the monetization system of Diablo Immortal, it's not moral, okay? Just pun intended with the name. But about that, the fact that they ditched Warcraft 3 Reforged, it was not a bad business decision. It was a bad PR decision, and I am not sure that we can say they are doing wrong because they are a company. I think people should start to realize that the gaming companies are just like companies, and usually companies are bad because they don't
Corporate.
like
They're
people. They just
corporate
want to
now.
make money. And companies are not good, intrinsically good. I mean, they can produce good products, but they want to sell you their products. It's not that they are there for you. They are there for to make profits. It's their goal. I think this is the point, and it's probably one of the reasons why people, me included, often get disappointed in games because you want to think, oh, this is a franchise so
Well,
long.
I still think it depends on the companies and the personalities that are on the important places. Because, for example, if you remember the Age of Empires treatment, Microsoft is a big company that is also motivated by uh, getting money and like improving their financial status. But for some reason, they can treat their franchises and their products well with long-term planning, like okay, we will invest a little bit more money here and we will spend a little bit more time developing it, but we will not lose our fund base in next 10 years.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's kind of we can talk about Blizzard all we want. They do what they want, but we can also do what we want, right? And this is one of the original reasons you reached out to us, because we talked about skins a couple of minutes ago, and this all came up because of a video of OC Drummer, and some phone is ringing, I think. Anyway, you guys, I think, saw the OC Drummer video on YouTube where we were talking about SD plus, which is probably a bad term for that, and also you were really afraid that the Reforged models would be taken away. So can you guys maybe briefly explain where is that rumor coming from that they would delete Reforged graphics, because that sounds so absurd to me.
Well, the rumor comes from one of the people who worked at Blizzard on Warcraft 3 Reforged. This is the source, but I will not name him, of course. And so it's not a rumor we invented. And of course, as I always told you, it was just pure speculation, but of course, better safe than sorry.
But
And about the video of the OC drummer, I found a lot of his observation quite cringe. I mean, except for the paladin, which I hate in Reforge. I mean, it's not the paladin; it's like Rambo. I don't
Sergeant.
know. But,
I
yeah.
That's a
hate him
Rambo
as well. You
sergeant.
know. I really
But
hate him as well. Yeah.
I think most of the other models look really, really better in Reforged. And if you check out even the majority of the YouTube comments, you can see that. I mean, there is people who say that the Infernal in SD plus, as we like to talk it, is it to call it is better than the Reforged version, but it's not. I mean, to me, it's not. There is some stuff that it's a bit better, maybe because has a better art style, but overall, I cannot say I agree with what he was saying. And beside that, if we have a game which, from the isometric point of view, is almost not distinguishable from the original, well, that's not a remake in my book. It's a remaster. I mean, probably the best course of action would have been to have separate games, like a remastered Warcraft 3 and a reforged Warcraft 3, or a single game which have more toggles. But to think that these models are overall better than the reforged models, and except for some specific models, which I agree look better in SD Plus, the Paladins is the first one that comes into my mind. I think it's not true. I mean, okay, you can say you like it more, but to say they are objectively better, it's not true.
But
Yeah.
then it's the question, what makes a model better?
Well, we can. This is a strange question because there are objective stuff that makes a model better. A model is better if it is more detailed. A model is better if it has a better art style. A model is better if it better fits the environment. A model is better if it has better animations. It depends where you look, because there is
It is
not
subjective.
one way to say it's better. And I can say that if we take the SD terrain of the Reforged terrain just ported over to SD without many correction that are necessary, and we apply SD models, of course they look better, but they don't look better. They just fit better an environment which is made in the exact same way they are made. But they are not objectively better in every other aspect. They are less detailed. Often their style is very lacking because the original art style, as I told you, I've always had the impression it's more a byproduct of the lack of
Limitations.
resources of the time than a proper design choice to have stuff so blocky. And because of that, I think that replicating the blockiness, okay, may be fun for people. It could be a nice skin for some people, but I don't think it's the right way to go. I think to improve what's in Reforge, changing some models, changing the design of the maps, improving the shader and the lighting, it's what should be done in order to make also the Reforged IG models usable in Melee. And of course, if there are pros of people with worse computers, you could make some low-res skin, or even just improve a bit the original SD and let people choose to play on their good old classic mode, which is there to stay, I guess. This is for sure there to stay. I think they will never touch the
Dude,
classic. I mean,
imagine they delete the classic graphics.
that would be an amazing twist.
I hope they don't delete
Oh no,
anything.
guys, we are deleting classic. That's basically my point. And I think that there is the user generated content community, and of course we are speaking on behalf of the Reforged map making community, which is not that large for what concerns the maps, because our projects are the biggest one, and they have a bit of a set a standard for the Reforged map making, which is not so easy to play around. But I've always have all my maps opened, and I hope people in the near future will start produce stuff. Just copying my stuff over. I really hope that's the case. A lot of people message me telling me, "Oh, can I access your map?" Yes, open my maps and do whatever you want. And on behalf of the user-generated content community, which for what concern models is very active in the HD side, because there are a lot of HD models and icons and stuff being produced, especially models. People is loving to make HD models, okay, because they look good. Usually they look really good, and it's often a bit neglected in the YouTuber and Twitch scenery. I mean, you are primarily a melee streamer, okay? Even if you played Re-Reforged, even if you actually are a supporter of Re-Reforged, okay? But you are primarily a melee streamer. You are speaking usually for melee stuff. Of course, this is your audience. You can do other stuff, but your main focus is your audience, your core audience. Grubby is the same thing, okay? Witty Warcraft is a bit more custom, but still, it's primarily melee player. So there is not a huge representation for what is the custom campaigns community. Of course, the fact that custom campaigns are not currently supported by Reforged, and even in the patch of today, they are not supported. My God, please add custom campaigns back, Blizzard. That is all we need. Not all, but the most we need. It's important in that regard. But I think we need to have a bit more representation. Okay, the user-generated content scene is what actually pushed Warcraft 3 and make it Warcraft 3 what it is today. The melee is important, but it's just one side of the medal, and I think the user-generated content scene, and I also speak about the custom campaigns and single player stuff, is definitely something that should be covered up more and should be highlighted more, because it is what made Warcraft 3 so great back in the day. And if Blizzard, if you are hearing us, add custom campaigns back. So if Blizzard adds custom campaigns back and some additional functionalities and fix some stuff, I think it could flourish once more, and we could have a lot of incredible campaigns made with reforged assets, which are perfect to tell stories, okay? Even if there is no way they're going to change models of improved stuff for melee and people will have to play on classic graphics melee, even if they don't want to spend time on that, at least please finish the stuff for the story mode, because we can create amazing stuff with Reforged for story oriented content. Even multiplayer and single player story oriented content, it's amazing. You can make really RPGs using Reforged graphics without changing an inch. It's very important that the user generated content community is highlighted a bit more, and I really would like to be able to speak all together melee and sports and custom content community to Blizzard for the patch that they are saying are going to come this year. Please speak with us. We know what the game needs. I workshop know what the game needs. The melee scene know what the game needs. Push it all together, and we should have the game that it deserves to be, in my opinion.
But don't you think that it's a little easy to just ask for some representation? Because of course you do amazing stuff, of course you cater to a lot of people, but I guess you have to appear more. Like, you don't have a Twitter account, for example, for Re-Reforged. Hive's last tweet from their Twitter account was in July 2021, which is almost a year by now. So it's also up to the UGC community to bring the content to the people. It's not like you create content and then people will somehow find it, but you have to bring it. There's so many alternatives with new games and everything else that is in entertainment. You have to fight for every single viewer. This is why we do social media. I hate it. I hate Instagram, but especially when you do like models, Instagram and TikTok should be a pretty cool medium for you guys to find new viewers and to grow a bigger audience. And automatically, because of if you get a higher follower number, then automatically you have a better outreach, and then automatically you have a bigger voice.
Yes, this is true, but for example, if you take the Chronicle of the Second War team, they are enough people to do this kind of stuff. But if you take most of the user-generated content scene, including myself, okay, it's me. What should I do? Should I advertise or should I make maps? I mean, I
Well,
can advertise, but I cannot advertise most of the time because I have to make maps. Otherwise, I have nothing to advertise.
But you do a great job in covering stuff on your Discord, for example. And you could use the same content for social media.
Yes, I know, but it's additional work for me, and I already have a real life work.
It's like 4 clicks, dude! It's the same content, just rehash it.
Yes, I promised you that I will open a Twitter account. I already promised you, so stop pushing for that. I already told you that I will when I will find. I will start streaming. So more than
that's a good step. That's a good step indeed.
No, we've done that already, you know, with our Twitter and YouTube account. So whenever we release a new showcase or piece of news, you know, or an update, we immediately share it on our Discord and YouTube and Twitter. But Luca presented a good point here is that we are a team and he is a one-man show. So while the rest of the guys, for example, are busy developing, for example, I take the responsibility to share this. If I'm very busy, one of the guys will share. So I think maybe Luca can perhaps hire a contributor that is specifically for social media. And I do believe that he has enough fan base that would do that for him. So if Luca
But I think
considers
this
it,
is the main point because we should stop thinking that we are the user-generated content community. It's not these two projects, which are way
yeah, we are part of it, you know,
stuff that's
part
going
of the
on. But most people have not the resources and the time to do this kind of stuff, of course. So there should be something a bit more intertwined even with the Melee community. And I think a lot of Melee players could like to play user-generated content and campaigns or see their favorite streamer. I don't know. I'm just thinking about someone here playing this kind of content. And I mean, this is the point. If we are talking about GSW or Re-Reforged, we can do a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm a one-man show, it's true, but of course I have some contributors, I can do a lot of stuff. I have a lot of reach, and they even more than I do, because they are team. But we are not the user-generated content community, by all means. There are a lot of really great stuff, even on classic graphics, that should be highlighted and should, in what they say, what they require, should really bring forth to Blizzard attention in order to improve the game and push it to the future. Because I have the feeling that StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 are going to remain the kings for quite some time, not to just use water, cold water on the hype fire generated by Stormgate, but I have this feeling in my heart. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope to be wrong in a way. I mean, new good stuff, it's always better. But I think these games have the potential to still be the future while they are the past. And this is something we should take really, really seriously. And I think the user-generated content is one of the most important things that should be highlighted. And I know not all people can, and I don't want a lot of smaller and still good and passionate projects to die or to just be ignored because of that. This is, I mean, I hope to speak also of Hive Workshop. I will get angry also by Hive Workshop now. I'll get angry for all community. I will retire in isolation if on a hidden island in the Pacific Ocean in order to escape from the angry mobs.
Yeah, what Hive Workshop is doing well is, for example, their Facebook page. That's a lot better, but it's of course an old man's club as well because it's Facebook. But you mentioned Stormgate already. Did you guys see the developer interviews about the editor already? Is that something of interest for you guys?
The one
not got.
Right.
No,
Your
I didn't
interview?
get the chance to watch the latest developer interview. So, what was the main points?
That they are very focused on it. Like they have four pillars basically for the game. The one is campaign, the second one is co-op, the third one is esports, and the fourth one is definitely highlighted is the editor and the user-generated content. there's like two modes. One simple mode, so you can open a map and put some doodads here and there. And there's also a professional mode that goes more in depth. I have no idea about technical stuff, so I don't know how awesome this really is, but it looks pretty promising that at least they put a lot of they say they put a lot of effort into it.
I'm really curious because they are using a real engine, so the underlying engine and the underlying editor already exists. Okay, I guess they are trying to ship a modified version of the Unreal Engine or another tool made with the Unreal Engine with validates stuff to be exported for the Unreal Engine. I don't know how that will work. I think it's very ambitious. I mean, I hope they can make something as good as StarCraft 2 or Warcraft 3, but I have the fear they are. There's something wrong in what they are doing. I don't know. I don't know how to express. I have a bad feeling about it. I mean, they are saying a lot of great stuff, but I cannot, for the best of myself, remove this strange feeling I have about this game. I really hope to be wrong, but it's like trying to bite more than you can chew. I have this feeling, but I hope to be proven wrong. I mean, if I'm wrong, it's better for everyone. So.
Yeah, let's say
it is always give it the benefit of the doubt, So
for sure. But let's say we have this new game. What would be your top recommendations for the editor? What is something that an editor must have in this day and age, and what is something that you miss maybe at the moment in the Warcraft editor?
I think, Eugene, you are the world.
Stormgate or for Warcraft editor?
For Stormgate. Or for a new game. Like, think big. What's the dream editor?
My God. It's hard to say for me because I was mostly working only with Warcraft 3 and slightly with StarCraft 2. I think one of the most important thing is usability and easy way to understand things. This is why StarCraft 2 editor was not, accepted by community so fast. It required a lot of autism and nerdiness to reach it and to understand it. Even Warcraft 3 editor back in 2002, without any manuals about, short, short key, when you use keyboards. Sorry for my English. Like when you use Control F1 in World Editor, you can instantly go to the object editor and see the data of the unit. And like I didn't know for that from the beginning. And a lot of hotkeys can improve your experience. So if you have an editor, like Warcraft 3 editor never had any official manual. So people just dig it by their experience. So the editor of a dream is something that is easy to understand, which is user friendly, and have cool manual about shortcuts, about cool tricks that can save your time, or good best practices. For example, best practices for creating a cinematic. You're using this and this. Back in the day, people just reverse engineered the original StarCraft or Warcraft campaigns. They opened existing campaign and they try to understand how it was built. So the editor of a dream is the editor that has manual, that has explanation of basic things, and that has as much things to change as it possible. Like you can import sounds, models, effects, and change anything you want in order to make Super Mario from Warcraft 3 or vice versa.
I mean, I'm not really the best person to ask this because I always have found well, now I find the Warcraft 3 World Editor to be really really limited. I really like the StarCraft 2 Galaxy Editor because it was really powerful. The more option I have, I mean, Unity Editor, Unreal Engine, give me the full tools. I can do whatever. Give me whatever you want and give me good assets and good tools to change those assets and everything you have to make the games, and I can do whatever I want. This is what I want, but still I am an engineer, okay? So maybe I am a bit so probably for the community it's better to have a simpler to use editor, even if not as powerful. Personally, I like it as powerful as it possibly could be, because I think I can use it, but probably for someone who is not a programmer, who is not an engineer, who is not inside this kind of technical stuff, it will be very very hard to use a full powerful tool. I mean, you cannot take a player and say, okay, make a map, just open the Unreal Engine and made it, okay, and the player will say, no, thanks, I cannot do this. And this is probably something I'm not really that qualified to speak about. I mean, because yes, of course, a simple editor is probably the key to success. Simple but powerful. It means everything and it means nothing at the same time, but it's hard to say any other
So
way.
it should have advanced modes that you can research after you master the basics level.
I'm not really convinced by that, because it's double work, and if you do double work into the editor, it means that you have to cut some features from the editor itself, because otherwise you have not unlimited budget, okay? If we want to speak about utopia, okay, it's an utopia, we can do whatever we want, but we need to think that they have a budget, and of course the main budget is not the editor but it's the game, okay, because they know how to use Unreal Engine, so they will say, okay, your problem, we are making a game with Unreal Engine, we know how to use it, we have our tools, goodbye. If they are releasing an editor for the community, they have to adapt their tools in a meaningful way for the community, and it's a lot of work. And to provide two modes, it means that something somewhere else has to be cut, for sure. It's impossible otherwise. I
Well, for example, Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2, they have two modes in triggers. You can use triggers that are understandable, and you can write code if you know the syntax and logic.
But it's different. Are different features. For example, if you play around with the UI triggers, which are the usual triggers we use because they are the most easy to use stuff. They have some problems, of course, because if you have to change stuff, you have to really have fun with clicking with your mouse. But they have a nice feature which just lack, or Lua lacks inside the editor, which is referential integrity. I mean, if you change the
Yeah.
name of a variable, the name of this variable will change everywhere it is used. This doesn't hold true if you use a JS variable. So this also means that, of course, you have a bit of trade-off here. Okay, you have to do some stuff with JAS, but most of stuff you can do with GUI triggers, and it's usually better, easier to use, and easier for people to watch and learn from it. This is why I'm trying to stick to use triggers as much as possible. Try to avoid JAS unless it's really required. I actually use Lua, but the same. Actually, the StarCraft 2 editor in triggers had a very nice feature which allows you to copy variables and values of the same type from one trigger action or condition to the other without opening triggers, and do a lot of modifications directly inside the preview of the trigger action. So if you look for that, just look at StarCraft 2, it's good enough. I mean, the problem with StarCraft 2 is just the data editor, which is a huge big mess because they really made
Yeah.
it. If you exclude the data editor, the StarCraft 2 editor rocks. It's awesome, 10,000 times better than World Editor in every possible aspect. There is nothing comparable to it. And if I just made a good data editor and the people at Frost Giant imitate the StarCraft 2 editor, I think they are already on the right path. They don't need to make two different modes. I think a cleaner data editor and the same functionality of StarCraft 2, it's enough already for a good editor for everyone. Because if it was not for data editor, it would have been much easier, okay, to work with StarCraft 2, in my opinion,
Think,
at least.
Thinking of that data editor, I remember that it was also one of my biggest struggle, because a lot of data fields, they just didn't have any explanation why they exist and what they do actually. And some of them are mystery even now for me, like especially when we work with abilities or buffs or items. It's always pain, because you need to blind guess a lot of things and just test it until it works. And yeah, I agree that good data editor with sane fields and some explanation and tips what does what and what relates to what would be very helpful for the custom games and custom content.
Okay, Frost Giant, you're very welcome. We basically built the foundation for your editor here. But today is an interesting day because we just got the patch, or the PTR for the patch 1.33. And I think there is some updates to the editor as well, which are not mentioned in the patch notes because Blizzard, for fuck's sake, can't do patch notes and mention anything.
I should hire someone.
But I think
They don't know what's inside the changes. They are just pushing changes. But what's inside the changes? I don't know.
Have a surprise, guys.
So, do you guys know what was changed to the editor? Is that something interesting in there?
I think people at Hive Workshop are preparing a list. I spoke briefly with that person, one of the original Warcraft devs, and he told me that it seems that there are a lot of severe issues inside the editor because they are updating some natives. They are updating the UI of the editor, so it looks like no longer Windows 98, but like Windows 10. But it seems that, of course, with new stuff, if not properly tested, it's coming new bugs. It's always the same thing.
Maybe they finally will add dark theme and syntax highlighter for Jazz.
Oh my god! I think this will never happen, but I'm happy to be proven wrong as always.
My eyes are full of pain when I open editor and it's completely white and it just spoils my eyes. And when I need to pick an icon for ability or buff or unit or quest, an item is so tiny, so tiny. The icon so tiny that I need to, I don't know how to change it, because it's like 24 pixels or something like that. It's hard to recognize it even in the editor. Maybe they could make it bigger a bit.
So, what is a native? You mentioned they add new natives.
Yeah, what I saw is just new natives to actually get the queued orders of units. This is very useful because, for example, if you now when you right click on a crate, for example, or on a tree, you automatically target an attack on it and or an harvest if you are using a peon a peon type unit, and it always flash yellow to confirm your action, okay, to say you to give you a visual representation of the fact that you are actually targeting it. And for example, I try to imitate that in Re-Reforged when you target neutral buildings, because there are a lot of nice treasures inside the huts of various mobs and stuff. And the problem is that it doesn't work well if you queue orders. Now, with these new natives, it should be possible to finally make this work even for queued orders. But this is just one possible usage. There are countless possible usage in many kinds of map, even for AI actions, because if I want to order a group of AI units to move there and then move there, it was not possible unless I make a region. When they enter this region, they are all checked out, they are there, and so you can order to go on the other place. Now with you order some stuff that doesn't require so much checks can work much easier, and this could also improve pathing for some kind of units, because we know that the pathing in Warcraft 3 it's not the best of its kind. And these are nice stuff. This is the natives I saw. Then there is UI improvements, and then I think on Hive soon people will release an
UI
amazing
improvements of the editor or the game?
what
UI improvements of the editor
Edit-
or of the game?
editor UI. In the
Oh,
game, they
oh.
added ladder, they added ranked play, they added seasons, they added this kind of stuff. And still, I hope people on in Hive will understand what's changed by looking at the files. I guess there are also some kind of models improvements, lighting improvements, maybe some performance improvements. I mean, I know this kind of stuff was being worked on before the original classic team was shut down. So I guess they just resumed the work. It was done there. Oh, and also they updated the campaign. Don't expect anything bigger, but they just finally pushed out the changes the original devs made to make the Reign of Chaos campaign, primarily that one, a bit more in
I
line with
think
difficulty
I
because
think
you
I
don't know what
understand
difficulty was
what.
from.
I can give even an example. At some point, I was talking to that one of the members, workers of the team, classic team, previous one that was dismembered, dissolved. So he and I was complaining about some mission in Reign of Chaos that Lemon Sky created a bridge for night elves, night elven bridge model, and they never used that in that mission too for when Tyrant marches, like when she hides from demons, and there was a bridge. And he told that this actually was fixed, and this code contains in some of the builds, but it was never released. And maybe this is like the things that was fixed like a year ago. They're testing it and releasing it. Those small changes to campaign, like doodats or misplacement. Do you remember that in Rexar campaign there was huts, Draenei huts presented as ogre huts? So maybe they will use it for some random mercenary camp instead of Draenei, because ogres living in Dorotar and Draenei huts are very weird in official Reforged campaign.
True. All right, so now that we have a patch, are you a little hopeful that things will change for the better, or what's your gut feeling at the moment?
I have a good feeling. I mean, I think they will keep HD graphics. This is this is something I'm really happy about, and you melee players should be too. Jokes aside, okay.
Never
um,
happened.
and I really hope they can finish at least the structure of the game. If we get a fully functional, complete game, and if they can monetize some kind of skins and stuff like that, the user generated content community, at least the one present here, are fully there for the job to finish what was not finished in the campaigns. I mean, I will never have the expectations that they will do to the campaign what I'm doing, which is what they promised, but it's a lot of work, a bit too much. And there were also rumored original plans for remaking the Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 campaigns. So actually, what they are doing is not completely different from what was rumored at the beginning, or at least planned at the beginning of the development of Warcraft 3 Reforged. Right? Am I right?
Close, yeah, true.
I hope that they won't break a lot. Because every update I'm in fear. Oh my god, maybe some of our mission is broken and some trigger action will not work, or some ability is different now, or some model is different, and we based on that model our custom model. Oh my god, what will happen?
That's a valid fear. Is that every update, there's always fingers crossed. Will this break our game or improve our lives? So for me, I hope that, like Lucas said, also that finish the core of the game. Make it stable, the frame rate stability, optimization, the shaders, fix some animations and all of that. So here's to that. we're gonna watch together, us, the modern community, and the melee scene. We're gonna watch together if Blizzard really stand up by their words, and just give it time. I guess we've waited 2 years since the last update, 2 full years. I think we can wait a couple more months. So let's see.
Yeah, I think it's good that they are back and that they are pushing something out there, and that they promise multiple updates this year. Since Blizzard is now doing multiple updates this year, will you guys give me an update, let's say in about 2 months, what's happening in the UGC scene, so you can get a bit more spotlight on you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll keep you in the loop.
Sounds
And
good.
if the the audience, hopefully they would be interested to see what we have to offer. Whether our projects or the Hive community in general. Just go there and see what the other people have done. There's plenty of amazing campaigns or even melee maps with custom models, custom sounds, and everything. Just go and check for yourself. Just see how big that community is.
So, do you guys have anything that you want to mention? Otherwise, I have one last question from you guys.
I have nothing.
Okay, so since we all know that Hive Workshop is really, really big, and we all advertised your projects already, I want to know from each one of you, what is currently your favorite project on Hive that everyone should check out? Luca first.
Oh my god, this is really hard now. You are really an evil man.
I know. That's why I have the monopoly on Warcraft 3 esports,
Luca's accent always gets me, man. It's a great accent.
It's well. I will try to keep more. How can I say compatible with HD attitude on there, because there are a lot of great old campaigns. Some stuff is very very old. For example, some old but not for Reforged Warcraft 3. I mean, not for 1.32. I mean, it's for older versions. I can mention stuff like that, like To the Bitter End, for example. I think it's one of the best custom campaigns that I've ever seen. Not personally played, but seen. And there are many others that I don't really remember the names. I think one of the few projects that has both SD and HD support is a custom map which is mobile-like, and it's quite new, so it should be quite actively developed. And I think it could be interesting for melee players. I think it's Frostcraft, which is also one of the hosted projects on Hive Workshop. And if you are in for something foolish, you can try the 2-player campaign to an insane mod. It's not made by me, okay? It's a Reforged campaign, but made for 2 players by another map maker called The Spoon. And you could try to play it with a friend at max difficulty and just get mad about how difficult it is. If you want to, but I think Frostcraft is really good because it has both SD and HD support, and it's compatible fully with Reforged. So this is one of I think one of the best projects currently. I hope I'm not now I've angered other people. Today is the day I will be hated by people all around the world. But I think it's a very very good project, and it also uses the HD stuff quite well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this was featured on War 3 Champions as well. This is really, really, really cool. So everybody check that out. Any other recommendations?
I'd like to mention that some of our guys helped the Frostcraft developer to finish this. So shout out to them for as well. Mr. Goblin and Moonman, or Baroque with his new name. For me, what I like to see, they're both SD campaigns, which is one is Flicker and Light. It's a horror survival game by Mr. Goblin, It should I think it's still work in progress. And the other one, it's an old one, The Last Guardian. You know, it is an RPG custom campaign that shows Khadgar's journey, into the Tower of Medivh, and yeah, there's flickering light, by my teammate Mr. Goblin. He still works on it. We've seen
Ah,
some
he
rough
just
demos.
told me that he's going to rename it to Blood Moon or something like that.
Blood Moon, nice.
Yeah.
So, and the other one is, like I said, the Last Guardian. That follows Khadgar's journey into the Tower of Medivh, and I hope that someday uh, the developer that he would do a reforged treatment for that. So let's hope.
My favorite SD custom campaign was The Lord of the Clans by Outsider XE.
Oh yeah, that
And
one I forgot that one.
he also did a campaign for Day of the Dragon, but I don't remember. I think I didn't play through to the end. I didn't play a lot of games recently because I have work and I have this project which consumes tremendous amount of time. And I hope once we release, I will play some cool custom maps and campaigns. But this is my favorite, and I also texted him that I would be happy to see if he reforged this campaign at some point.
You guys are really hyped about Reforged. I see it. I see it. I will try all of these and, of course, link it in the description. And I'm very, very happy that we spent the time here. I think it's a very cool approach to bring the Melee community closer together to the UGC community. We know the Hive workshop for a long time. They do Melee map contests and we try to feature that as much as possible. But yeah, the campaigns are great, the models look great, and let's see what amazing things we can do together in the future. And we'll have an update in 8 to 10 weeks, and then we group up again and either shit on the patch that we got there or be hopeful or whatever. If you have any other shout outs, if you want to mention anything, this is your chance now. Luca first again.
It is. Well, I really would like to say a big thank you to all the people that are in my community and also in general in the Hive community. I mean, there is also people that originally people disliking Reforged also was disliking what I was making, but I've seen a lot of changes. There are people who even apologize with me for the original initial attitude, and I am really, really grateful to all the supporters, all the contributors, all the people who helped me, and of course, two of these people are also here, right? By yeah, my side, this side, okay, okay. And so thank you to all these people because okay, it's one man show, but it's not true that it's just one man show. Okay, this is important to precise at the end.
Yeah, we have been inspiring with each other work. Sometimes I see that, oh, Luca made some very cool thing, and I'm thinking, maybe gameplay in our campaign should be a little bit entertaining or a little bit faster, a little bit less boring. Like, okay, this is a cool thing that he's making. Maybe we should learn something from him. In the same way, sometimes Luca asks us for custom model or an advice what he can do in his mission, and we're like helping each other to be better in what we are doing.
Yes. I would like to give a shout out to my team. Even though Eugene is with me, but the rest of the guys, I would like to give them a shout out to also to our contributors, to our voice actors, to our artists, and most importantly, our fans, which are the lifeblood of our project and Discord and Hive. The people of Hive, the owners, because Hive Workshop is the big house, let's say the mead hall, the gathering place for all players of Warcraft, whether melee players or modders or players in general. So I say like thank you to all of these people mentioned.
I have a list of credits. Like sometimes when I work on the map, I think, oh my god, I need to not forget to credit all the people which helped us, like who contributed to project, who worked as a volunteer voice actor, who which model we used or which helped we accepted. And I have a huge list of credits, and I'm always like a bit nervous about, oh my god, what if I forget someone? Like, do we need to make a huge credit map in the end of campaign, like all those Blizzard old campaigns, and huge list of people who did a lot of things to make our projects live.
I hope the people
And
are watching this to see your real life gratitude for their contributions. That was sweet.
yeah, people who I like can say right from top of my head, it's Hand Claw and Trolderon. They did a lot of uh, drawings, concepts for units and menu, and they did a lot of art. Huge amount of people in voice over team that only Shadi knows, because I don't have time to communicate with them. I'm mostly dug in triggers and models and animations. And I can't even remember. A lot of people reach out to us. A lot of people reach out to us with the suggestions for partnership, for translation to other languages. Also, of course, Quenching team, Zorot, that did a huge contribution to our project. These guys just coded the installer program to have easy installation into menu. They created a custom campaign menu for us, like a temporary walk around before Blizzard releases the original feature. So we're very thankful to them for their help.
Yeah, they also saved us when the Chinese esports tournament were still in the Reforged graphic. So shout out Quenching, cool that you're still doing your stuff. We will have an update from the user-generated content community. It's so hard. In a couple of weeks. Until then, you guys can ask your questions to these gentlemen and the rest of the community. If the user-generated content community is watching, I hope you like this. I hope you enjoy this little spotlight that we're able to do. And yeah, off to more cooperation in the future, everybody. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.